So in this video, we're going to go over how to open up the case for the FRS3. You'll need to do this in order to follow a lot of the more advanced instructions for some of the modding and stuff like that. But it's fairly simple to do. We've just got bolts around the edge of the case here, which we just need to take out. You can do this with a 2mm hex key or an Allen key, depending on what you call it. Most of these bolts are the same. It's just the three at the front here that are different. The central bolt is longer than all the rest, and that needs to stay in the center there. These two will always be at the front, and then the rest will be the same. So I will take the bolts out and we'll go from there. So now that we've got all the bolts out, we just want to take our plexi and artwork off. And you want to try to keep the artwork and plexi together as you do this, just so you don't get dust in between the plexi and the artwork, because it's quite difficult to get out. Once you've got this off, you can just put that to the side. If you're changing your artwork, obviously it's just a case of putting your new artwork on and then putting the plexi back down. Once you've got the plexi and the artwork off, your FRS3 will look something like this, depending on what layouts you have. And in order to get the top panels off, we're just going to lift them up using the corners here. So there'll be space for you to get your fingers in here and lift these up. And we'll always start by taking the right hand side off first. As you lift these up, they might be a little bit tight, especially around here, which is where the connector is. But as long as you're lifting it up straight up and not trying to bend it in any way, they should come loose fairly easily. And then we're just going to flip those over and pull this wire connection loose. All the rest can stay the same, and we can put that to the side. Then we're just going to do the same thing for the left hand side. So we're just going to lift it up. The connector is around here, so we're going to lift it up from there, and that will come loose from the connector, and we can remove this wire as well. We'll put that to the side. So once you've done that, you'll have access to the inside of your case, which will allow us to do a lot of the other more advanced stuff that we'll go through in another video. And if we wanted to put it all back together, we just do the exact same thing, just in reverse order. So we take our left hand side and we plug it in. And as we do this, we just want to make sure that these visible pins are face down so that we can't see them when we plug them in. And we're just going to put that connector back. The top panel will slot in to where it needs to go, so it will be fairly easy to get the connector into the right place. But just make sure the pins connect like that. And then we'll do the same thing with the right hand side. So we're just going to plug this back in, pins facing down, back to where it was, and then line it up so that the panel goes in. And the connector being around here, we're just going to give that a little gentle push to push that in, and it should all go back down as it did before. And then we can just take our plexi, make sure that lines up before we do anything. And then we want to take all the bolts, the smaller bolts that are the same, and just put them in but not tighten them all the way. So I'll do that first. And then once I've done that, I'll put the longest bolt back into the center and the slightly different countersunk bolts back in at the front here. And then once they're all in place, we can just check that the plexi are lined up properly and then just tighten the bolt up. You shouldn't need to tighten these very tight at all. You don't want to over tighten them and crack the plexi. It's just literally a case of a bit of a twist. They don't need to be that tight, as long as everything is solid. Now we've got our FRS3 back together, we're good to go again, and we can play it as normal.